In this lesson, we will explore techniques to handle runtime errors and master the art of using debugging tools in the VBA editor to find and fix issues. If you are writing VBA code, error is something you will have to deal with. Error handling and debugging are essential skills for any programmer as they help identify and resolve problems in code efficiently. Why error handling? Runtime errors can occur due to various reasons such as invalid inputs, unexpected behavior, or external factors. Without proper error handling, these runtime errors can lead to program crashes and unreliable applications. The main goal of error handling is to anticipate potential issues and provide a fallback plan when something goes wrong. There are three types of errors in VBA. We have the syntax error, which is detected by the VBA editor during code compilation. We have the runtime error, which occur during code execution when unexpected conditions arises. And we have the logical errors. This is where no errors are displayed, but the code does not work as intended. So these are the three types of errors in VBA. Now, before we dive into error handling techniques, let's explore some common runtime errors. The first one we will cover is division by zero. This error occurs when attempting to divide a number by zero. Let's see an example. In this example, we are trying to divide 10 by 0, which is not allowed in mathematics and programming. When the code executes this line, a runtime error 11 division by 0 will occur. I will be using my F8 for this lesson so that you can see where the error occurs. So the execution will start from the beginning, and when it gets to that point where we have 10 divided by 0, it's going to display an error notification. So let's see for ourselves. Okay, step into, and we step into, you can see. Then from here, an error will occur. You can see runtime error 11 division by 0. So, and if we try to debug, it will tell us the line where we have the error. So it won't go further than this because an error has occurred. Now there is a way we can bypass this error. Yes, there's a way we can bypass it whereby it will ignore the error and continue execution. One way is using the on error resume next. So what we need to do, let's stop this execution. Then we'll go here on error resume next. So we'll just type it here on error resume next. What this does is that it will skip the error and continue execution. That's just it. So when we include this into our code, it will skip that error and continue execution, whereby it will skip this 10 divided by 0 and go to the next one and still give us the answer. So it will ignore any error in your code. So let's run it again so we can see for ourselves. F8, okay, we move. You can see that ignore that first error and move, then we'll get our answer. The answer is 5. 10 divided by 2 is 5. You can see the result is 5. So that is how you can handle error in Excel VBA. Although I have something to say about this method, but I will say it at the end of this lesson, so just follow me. Let's go to the next error. Number 2, we have the null reference. This type of error occurs when trying to access a property or method of an object that does not exist or is set to nothing. Let's see an example. In this example, we created an object, which is my object, as object, but we set it to nothing, meaning it does not refer to any object. When we try to access the property, which is some property, a runtime error 91 will occur. Now here we are trying to access a property called some property. It will trigger an error because we are referencing something that does not exist because we set my object to nothing. So this is what is going to happen when we try to execute this. You can see when VBA can find any property called some property, it triggers the error. You can see runtime error 91, object variable or with block variable not set. When you see this kind of error, just know that you are referencing something that does not exist. And if you try to debug it, it will tell you the line where the problem is. This is what we call the non-reference error. To handle this error, we can use the on error go to. So to do that, all we just need to do is to come over here and input it here on error go to, then you can insert a label there, any name that you want to use, you can insert it there. I want to use error handler. Then you come here also and insert the word exit sub. Then for error handler, let's put it here, error handler. So this is the notification that we will get when an error is being triggered, and it will tell us where the error is coming from. So message box is what we want to tell us, and error occurred. So we use this. Alright, so let me explain. So here we use the on error go to error handler. You can use any label here. I just want to use error handler to specify that if an error occurs, the code execution should jump to this error handler label. So anywhere there's an error, when it occurs, it just triggers and go to this place without completing the execution. So if my object is set to nothing, which is what we have here, attempting to access its property, some property which does not exist, will raise an error, and the code execution will immediately from here jump to this part. So it will exit the subroutine and jump to this place and display this message for us. In the error handler section, we display a message box which states that the error has occurred with an error description, which is error.description. We use the error.description. Then the exit sub here is used to exit the subroutine after handling the error. So the code following the error handling section would not be executed in the case of an error. So this one is more professional because when an error occurs, it tells you that an error has occurred. So let's execute it and see what's going to happen. So let's use the F8. We'll go. Okay, you can see it. Alright, let's continue. From there, you can see it has entered that message, then it will tell us the message. An error occurred, object variable or with block variable not set. So you can easily tell where this is coming from. Then end the sub, you can see it there. So this is one way we can handle error in our VBA code. Not specifically for non-reference error kind of error. We can use one specific error handling method to handle multiple errors. This method is not only for non-reference. We will see other examples so that we can understand it better. Number 3, we have the type mismatch. This occurs when attempting to perform an operation on incompatible data types. In this example, we declare the variable, which is dim my number as an integer, but try to assign a string value, which is hello. This will cause a runtime error 13 type mismatch because we cannot assign a string value to an integer variable. So for example, you created a form using VBA code, and where a user is supposed to input his or her phone number, he or she is inputting his name or her name there. So this will trigger an error because you can't input a string where a whole number is supposed to appear. You can see my number is being declared as a variable there, and right now where you are supposed to put my number, the person is putting a name or whatever text or string in that particular place of an integer. So it will trigger an error, which we are going to see right now. Okay, you can see runtime error 13 type mismatch. So when you see the word type mismatch, it means there's a displace of variable in the code, which means you have to look for where maybe where you are supposed to use integer, you are using string, where you are supposed to use string, you are using integer, just like that, or double. So that is the error you will see when there is a type mismatch. If you debug, you will see where the problem is coming from. Okay, so now how can we also handle this type of error, kind of like a mismatch error? We can also use the on error go to. Yes, we can also use it to handle this kind of error. So what we just need to do is to come over here on error go to, then let's just give it a name. Let's give it a label. Let's say error note. Okay, let's call it error note. Then we come over here and say error note, the message we want to appear. So message box, then let's just say invalid input. So this tells the person that the input made is invalid. Please enter a valid number. Then we exit subroutine. Okay, so this is the kind of error handling you should use when you're writing a code, maybe when you are creating a form, a data entry form. So because users wouldn't really know what is happening, they will just see an error message and be like, what is happening here? So they won't really understand what is wrong. As a professional, when you use such thing like this, it tells that user that okay, this is the error you are making and this is how you should correct it. So if we run this code, we are going to see how it's going to appear to that user. Okay, so you can see invalid input, please enter a valid number. So if that user there inserted a text, which is a name or any address, something like that, in the place of a number, that person knows that okay, I made a mistake, I'm supposed to enter a number, because the end user won't understand those runtime error 91 and others. But when you input something like this, that tells that user that okay, this is where I'm making the mistake. It kind of like pass the message to a layman that does not understand VBA or even know anything about coding. I don't know if you get the point. So this is how you can handle error in VBA professionally. Let me just use the word professionally. So this is how you can handle it. So you give the on error go to, then you state the message there. That helps the user understand where the error is coming from. You as the VBA programmer, you know everything, but that end user does not know anything. And remember, you are creating an application for the end users who does not know anything about coding or programming. So this is how you can handle error in your application. Okay, let's go to the next one. So number 4, we have the out of range error. This occurs when accessing an array element, collection item, or any index object with an invalid index. As usual, let's go to our spreadsheet and see for ourselves. Here in this example, we have an array, which is my array, with 3 elements, indices 1 to 3 as integer. Now, when we try to access the elements with index 4, which is what we have here, which is behind the arrays band, a runtime error 9 will occur. So if we try to execute that, we'll get this runtime error 9, subscript out of range. Because why? We have only 1 to 3 as our array, yet we are trying to index 4, and that is out of range. That is why we have that out of range error, runtime error 9, subscript out of range. Now, how do we handle this kind of error? I know you may be thinking I want to bring a new error handling method. No, we are still using the on error go to. Don't worry, at the end of this class, I will tell you why I am always using that. So just stay with me. Now we can use the on error resume next, but there's a reason why I'm trying to avoid that. So we're going to use the on error go to. So let me show you. We just include it here, on error go to. Let's just call it error handler. We use the on error go to 0. So I will explain, just follow me. Error go to 0. Then we include the exit sub. Then we type the error handler message box and error code. Then we just state the error description. Okay, then after that we also use the on error go to 0 again before we end the sub. Okay, so let me explain first. We use the on error go to handler to specify that if an error which is out of range, if an out of range error occurs, the code execution should jump to the error handler label, which is what we have here. Then in the error handler section, we display a message box with the error description using the error.description. Now I know you will be thinking, what about this on error go to? So after handling the error, we reset the handling to a default behavior using this on error go to 0. So that is the purpose of this on error go to 0. You can choose to ignore it and you can choose to include it. On error go to 0, the purpose is it helps you reset the error handling to the default behavior. So you can choose to use only on error go to 0. So this will just show 0 as the output error. Although this does not really have any big effect on the code, but professionally it is great you use it like this, but you can choose to ignore it. So let's just run our code without talking too much. Let's see what is going to happen. Okay, all right, okay, then it goes an error called subscript out of range. So if we continue, it goes and executes and finish. So this is how you can handle the out of range error in your code. Let's go to the last one. And the last one is the file not found error. I'm very sure you have an idea of what this is going to be. This type of error occurs when attempting to open or access a file that does not exist in the specified location. In this example, we are trying to open a file at the specific path, but it does not exist. You can see nothing like this exists in my computer. So when the code executes the open statement, which is open file for input as 1, a runtime error of 53 file not found will occur. So if we run this, you can see it's trying to fetch that file from that file path. So when you now tell VBA to open that file in that specific path and VBA can't find it, it gives you this runtime error 53 file not found. You can see that kind of error. So when a user is trying to access a file that is not found in a specific part, it will show that user that error. Now, how can you undo the file not found error? This one is very let's say very technical or very specific for the professionals. So this is how you can handle it. We'll use the on error go to label, but there are other things that we still need to do to really handle it professionally. So this is what is going to happen. So let's end the execution. You come here, we type the on error go to let's use error notes. Then there's a new one. We now say if dir, which is directory file path, is equal to an empty string, then gives us a message which in a message box telling us that file not found and file path. Okay, then we exit subroutine. Then we end with end if. End if, then if that file exists, we can open it. Let's come here, then on error go to 0, which takes it back to the default behavior. So if that file exists, then open it, take it back to our default behavior, then we exit sub also. Remember, we have not typed our error note handler message. So then let's type our error note message. Okay, error note, then message and error occurred, then the error description message, then on error 0. All right, so this is the way you can handle this error. So let me explain properly. This is a final found example. Then we declared a file path as string, then file path is equals to this here, which does not exist. Then to handle it, we use the on error go to. So we can impute that on error go to, then error message. So we are using the on error go to label to specify that if an error occurs, the code execution should jump to the error note here. But before attempting to open the file, we check if that file exists. So if that's why we now use this statement here. If dir arrow file path returns an empty string, which is this here, it means the file does not exist and we display a file not found. So if this file path return an empty string, then we display the file not found message to the user. We then exit to prevent further execution. So we exit the sub to prevent further execution. And if the file exists, we proceed with opening the file. You can see what we have here. If the file exists, then we can proceed with opening the file using the open statement and perform any operations you need to perform with the file. Then after working with the file, we reset the error handling to the default behavior using the on error go to 0. Then the exit sub statement is used to exit the subroutine after handling the error or successfully working with the file, ensuring the code after the error handling section would not be executed in either case. Using the on error go to with a specific error handling label and checking for the files existent with the dir arrow here allows you to handle the file not found error gracefully and provide meaningful feedback to the user when they try to access a non-existent file. So let's run this code and see for ourselves. It's okay, the F8, okay, you can see it's going. If that file returns an empty string, it should give us that message, file not found. You can see file not found. So that particular file path does not exist. We click the OK, then we continue again. It end. You can see it end the execution of the code. You have seen for yourself, it does not continue. But assuming that file existed, it will continue running till it get to this point. But as far that file does not exist, we exit the subroutine. Let's do it again so you can see it. Okay, if file is equals to an empty string, then display this message, and it just did. If you continue exit sub, we continue again, we are done with it. That is how you can handle a file not found error in VBA. It's very easy to understand. I have already explained everything for you. So there we have it for this lesson. I'm very sure you really understood what I have showed you in this lesson. So like I said earlier in this lesson, avoid using the on error resume next. While it might seem like a quick fix, using on error resume next could hide other potential errors in your code. Because what it does is it ignores the error in your code and continue execution. And this is not really good, because in the future time it may really create problems. So while it may seem like a quick fix, using on error resume next could hide other potential errors in your code. So I will advise that you avoid using that on error resume next. I just have to show you so you can know that something like that exists. Instead, use proper handling techniques like on error go to or on error go to 0 to gracefully handle errors. Using on error go to with a specific error handling label allows you to handle errors more precisely and provide better feedback to the user when issues arises during runtime. So as a developer, you should ensure that you include error handling techniques into your code, because a good developer must ensure that error handling is done properly. Users should not get a bug. What they should get is a prompt to let them know what they are doing wrongly. Alright, so thank you for your time and thank you for your running in this course. Please, if you have not still dropped a review for this course, please go and do that. It means a lot to me. So go and review the course, go and rate the course, drop your review. Just be sincere with me. If you love this course, if it's a good investment for your money, please let me know in the review section. Just do something there. Rate my course, whatever rating that you want to give to it. If you feel it is worth 5-star, give it 5-star. If you feel it is worth 3-star, no problem. But drop a reason why you are rating it 5-star or why you are rating it 1-star or 3-star. Alright? Thank you for your time.